William and Eleanor, they sailed across the seas with 7 little Tracys. It took them 13 weeks. On the good ship Esther, from old England they came. 2 Mitchells came also. All their lives were changed. Bill Mitchell, he met Ellen. He was quite taken. He wrote her a poem. All others were forsaken. It's called Ellen. It goes like this. Hail, lovely flower of thy sex, companion on my way, I wish thee many glad returns of happy 1sts of May. Pardon the stranger who presumes to write this humble song, for you have known him little yet, and will not know him long. But as within the opening rose, new charms each day appear, so may your share of happiness increase from year to year. With son William Henry Mitchell, 1st of May, 1832, was Ellen's birthday. She became a teacher. He became a reeve. 4 years they were married, and 7 kids conceived. William Henry Mitchell had a businessman's education, so he would handle most of the land transactions for the settlers. He would walk 60 miles to Toronto to file their papers with nothing but a sword cane for protection. He was the first reeve of Pickering Township, but after 2 years he resigned and he became a mediator for the many disputes between the settlers. Later on he was a magistrate, and then he was elected to a seat in Parliament, but before he could take that seat, they called a new election and he lost to his opponent. From the good ship Esther, they rode on by Votour, then by carts and French ponies to Pickering they did go, clearing a path. They got them a bush lot, they cleared all the trees, they settled on their farm and raised a family. On another bush lot, over 2 miles away, the Gostics had settled. Now he knew how to pray. You see, Tom was a reverend, preaching 3 times on Sundays. Sarah healed the sick. She turned and went away. Though 2 miles of bush lay between the 2 farms, there Sarah married William, and she made him a home. There Eliza fell for Alfred. The 2 soon followed suit. Due time they were married and had 11 kids to boot. Of Thomas Elijah, not too much is known. He married Fanny Levens, and she made him a home. The family of 4, he wed Sophia Ford. She gave him 5 more. That was all he could afford. Now Caroline, she found her John. Ebenezer found his Jane. Hannah found her Henry. Hayward was his name. But the story can't be finished without mention of the 3 left behind in old England. They died in infancy. Ellen, George, and Phoebe. Of the 7 that made it here to begin our history, they built a life to be proud of, a life for you and me. They faced all their hardships with courage and bravery. They carried on through thick and thin and left this legacy. It's a Tracy legacy. William and Eleanor's first son was also called William. He married Sarah Gostick on October 29, 1839. They had 11 children. One of them remembered his mother baking her bread in a kettle. She'd place it over hot coals, cover it with hot ash, because she had no stove. At night, if she had run out of tallow candles, she might twist a bit of rag into a dish of grease, or light a pine cone in order to read her Bible before retiring for the night. Sarah's first son was named Edwin. He married Melissa Boyce since he was 32 and she was 20. They had 9 children. From those 9 children, Edwin's family has grown immensely. Their final resting place is in Grenfell. Samuel is the second son. He left home when he was 12 years old, headed to the United States. While he was there, Civil War broke out. He joined up and fought for the North. He was about 18 years old at the time. He married a Southern girl named Frances Jewell, and they had 11 kids. They lived in Ohio for a time and then returned to Canada. What an adventure he must have had. Sarah's third child was a girl, Sarah Ellen Tracy, born on December 25th, 1843. She had a child, Agnes Tracy, whose father seems to be William Brown. She then married Alfred Greensides and had 3 more children. The fourth child is Benjamin Franklin. He was 18 when he met the love of his life, Mary Ann DeGear. At 20 they married. 60 years later, he wrote her a poem. It's for her anniversary, and it's called From One Sincere. 80 years have passed away since first I saw the light of day, but he who kept me all the way is still my friend, with me doth stay. When I was small, I used to go, I'd walk 3 miles through mud and snow to learn to read and write and spell in the old log school I mind so well. At 18 years, I met a girl I thought was worth her weight in pearl. 20 years we've ended wed and helped each other earn our bread. From Ontario County we went away, way north 12 miles from Georgian Bay. In Minising we have our home, in a lovely spot we live alone. She's with me yet in this late day, and helps me long the heavenward way. Near 60 years she's been my stay, cheers me on from day to day. But God is good through all these years. He's led us midst our smiles and tears, promised never to forsake, till we're within the pearly gates. That was written January 1926. But it was December 15th, 1869, they left Pickering Township. In a sleigh pulled by 2 oxen. All their possessions were on board, plus their 2 children. They made it to Bradford that first day, spent the night in the Bingham Motel. When they reached Minising, they found 1 frame house, a church, and some log cabins. They settled in an old timberman's shanty. Benjamin had to go to Floss to find work, leaving Mary Ann alone with the kids. The next day, a group of Indians came by and took a liking to her things. Mary Ann was too frightened to refuse them, but a neighbor happened along and he made them give it back. Mr. Brenner, he took them to his home. Benjamin had a time finding them when he returned. He must have been so scared. Number 5 was Henry Tracy. He married Nancy Forsythe in Stouffville when they were 23 years old. They were both born in Pickering in 1847. They had 7 children. They moved to the 11th concession in Minising. When Henry was walking to Bradford one day, he stuck a willow stick in the ground. It grew into a huge willow tree, which has since been cut down. They moved over to the land outside of Midhurst in the early 1900s, and he built a log shanty for his family to live in until he could build the big White House, which still stands today. He had an artesian well, which was still running without loss of pressure 80 years later. Henry used a team of oxen to clear his land, and with the aid of a stumping machine, he was able to place the stumps around the crops, and it kept out the livestock. He had a shingle mill near the back of his farm, and he used white cedar, which was plentiful on his land, and made the shingles for his house. Nancy Forsythe came from a prestigious background, although she may not have even known it. Her ancestors lived in Stirling Castle. They were barons and noblemen. Her immediate family was instrumental in building the school where Ellen Tracy taught. They believed in education. The sixth child was George Peter. He married Maria Teresa Minnie McGuire. Minnie only lived to be 37 years old. He then married Sarah Simpson. She had 3 kids, and she outlived him by 8 years. Mary Ann is the 7th child, quite a revelation. She had the opportunity to travel as a tutor to the Brodie family. They were bankers from Toronto. She kept a journal describing her travels, and it's wonderful to read. On the ship home, she writes, Sir John A. Macdonald and his lady, as they call her, are passengers. She is the coarsest woman I ever have seen, and I've seen some queer characters before. Of course, she cannot help her appearance, but if she were ladylike in her manner, it would improve her appearance, I think. I will not waste time to write more of her. There are 80 passengers. Some are nice. Mary Ann wed Alexander Donald MacLeod on July 26, 1881. They had 10 children. Hannah Amelia is number 8. She married John Stuart MacLeod December 25, 1876. He was the brother of Mary Ann's husband, Alexander. They lived for a time in Minising and then moved on to Manitoulin, where he became a lumberman. He helped to build the First Baptist Church, but he died when he was 48 years old, leaving Hannah to raise her 11 kids on her own. She did this by farming. She started the first school in Muskoka in her own summer kitchen. At 90 years of age, she was encased from neck to toe in a cast for 6 months. At 100, she broke a hip, but still managed to climb the stairs at Christmas time without help. She passed away peacefully in her sleep about 1 month after her 102nd birthday. What a woman. The 9th child was Esther. She married Thomas Stokes. She lost her little boy in August, 1879. She herself passed away in September, same year. She was only 22 years old. Mary Ann writes in her diary, as I look for the last time on her peaceful face, so thin yet so calm, with the trace of her sweet smile upon it. Though still in death, I could not weep for her or wish her back, for she had said before she died that we need not weep for her, for we might envy her as she would soon be with Jesus. And while suffering from her cough and hard breathing the night before she died, she said, I shall soon be there. Such courage and faith in one so young. Number 10 is Eliza. She married Albert Orchard and had 3 children. There's some discrepancy in the dates, but she appears to have died at either 26 or 29 years of age. I don't know why. Number 11 and the youngest is Sergeant Major William Tracy. He wed Emma Keese. They have 1 daughter, Mabel Tracy. He served in the Northwest Rebellion of 1885, after which he was sent to the Boer War of 1899. And in 1910, he was sent to England, where he was decorated by King George V. Way to go. Now, William and Eleanor's youngest son, Ebenezer, he was 3 years old when they came to Canada. He married Jane Carson, and on May 1st, 1855, he was 26, she was 22. They had 8 kids. They lived for a time in Vesper Township and then moved on to Manitoulin. It was May 17th, 1882. They boarded the SS Manitoulin out of Collingwood with all their possessions, including their cattle. It was a warm, sunny day. Long about noon, while they were having lunch, a fire broke out in the engine room. The captain, with his napkin still around his neck,